Chapter 9. Unequal Love, Under the Weight of Difference. Imagine a mismatched pair of shoes, one high heel and one sneaker. That's how a relationship can feel when partners are standing on different rungs of life, whether in money, education, or career. Have you ever wondered what happens when love settles in between two people who on paper look unequal? When one has a dazzling job and the other is just starting out? When one grew up in abundance and the other counted every coin? Let's explore what love looks like under the weight of these differences. We'll speak openly about hidden feelings from shame to pride and see how two people can build a sturdy bridge across the chasm of inequality. Get ready, we'll put pride and insecurity under the microscope, smile at the irony of fate, and ask ourselves honestly, can love harmonize worlds this different? In an ideal world, love would always be on equal footing. In reality, however, Cupid doesn't check bank accounts or diplomas before loosing his arrows. That's how people from different social worlds sometimes end up together. At first everything feels wonderful, feelings are genuine, the chemistry is strong. But as the relationship progresses, the differences start to show, like the elephants in the room no one can ignore. Maybe one prefers exotic vacations while the other has never left the country, or one has devoured the classics while the other learned from the school of life and personal experience. These differences can bring subtle challenges, awkward moments, misunderstandings, jokes that unintentionally sting. So let's look at what each partner goes through and the emotional risks hiding behind inequality. In unequal couples, the partner who appears lower on the social or financial ladder can experience a heavy mix of emotions. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the thought that you're out of his or her league? That inner voice whispering, "I'm not good enough for him, her. What will his family say, his friends, people around us?" That's the voice of shame and the fear of not being enough. An inferiority complex can creep in unnoticed. At first it's just a tickle. You notice your partner casually talking about expensive restaurants or a master's abroad, and you smile awkwardly, not knowing what to say. Over time, that tickle turns into a weight on your heart. What if he realizes I don't measure up? What if he gets bored of me? The shame of coming from a more modest background or earning less can be paralyzing. Maybe you hesitate to invite them over, fearing your small, simple apartment will disappoint. Maybe you avoid talking about your childhood, thinking stories of hand-me-downs from older siblings won't stack up against their privileged memories. Instead of enjoying love, you end up wearing a heavy cloak of insecurities. And here's the paradox. The more inferior you feel, the more likely you are to interpret every gesture through that lens. If they forget to introduce you to someone, you immediately think, "He's embarrassed by me." If they give you an expensive gift, you think, "He must believe I can't afford anything of quality." The mind, guided by insecurity, starts to sabotage you. On top of that, guilt can step in. Guilt toward yourself for not bringing the same level to the relationship. Or guilt because, deep down, you may enjoy the advantages their position offers. And who wouldn't take some pleasure in a luxurious dinner or well-informed advice? That guilt can push you to overcompensate. You insist on splitting the bill even when you can't afford it, just to feel you're contributing equally. Or you work late to catch up financially, ignoring the fact that your partner would actually prefer to spend time with you rather than see you stressed. This effort to prove you deserve it can become an enormous pressure. Deep down, a constant fear takes hold that one day your beloved will notice the discrepancy and leave. And the irony is that most of the time this fear is much bigger in your mind than in theirs. Sometimes differences hurt less for what they are, and more for the importance we attach to them. If you see yourself as inferior, you risk teaching the other person that this is how things are. How true the saying is, limits are often only in our heads. Don't imagine the other end of inequality is free of challenges. When you're the one with the higher status, financially or educationally, unequal love arrives with its own dilemmas. You might find yourself placed on an imaginary pedestal. People, and sometimes even your partner, see you as the one who's made it. But from a pedestal, the balance is fragile. Be careful, because you can slide in two unwelcome directions, toward a superiority complex or into a crushing sense of over-responsibility. First, there's the subtle pull of ego. When you know you've had more schooling, money, opportunities, it's easy, even unintentionally, to believe you know better. You might start making important decisions on your own, on the grounds that I'm the one who understands finance anyway, or I know how to handle the paperwork. Without realizing it, you can fall into the trap of talking down to your partner. Not out of malice, but out of a learned habit. Your word has long carried weight at home or at work, so the tendency to lead spills into the relationship. That can breed deep resentment. No one likes feeling treated like a child in their own relationship. If you correct your partner at every turn or dismiss their ideas with "you wouldn't understand, it's complicated," don't be surprised to see either resigned sadness or a simmering anger in their eyes. Behind a sharp retort like "sure, you know everything" is the pain of not having real equality. Second, the pressure of expectations sets in. You may feel you have to pull the relationship forward, being the financial or decision-making engine, or you worry your partner is with you only for the benefits. That thought can stir guilt and mistrust. Guilt that you have it easier while your partner might feel self-conscious. Mistrust as you question whether you're loved for yourself or for your status. From there, unwise gestures sometimes follow. Absurd loyalty tests. Let's see if they love me for me. The insistence on always paying, thinking you're sparing your partner worry, but sometimes wounding their dignity. Or conversely, holding back from involving them in your grand plans for fear of overwhelming them. Being up there can also feel lonely at times. You find it hard to share your office stress or your plans for advancement, fearing you'll make them feel sidelined. And if your family or friends harbor biases, your partner is obviously with you for the money, or you have nothing in common, what do you see in them? You end up in the thankless position of defending your love to the world. All these unseen burdens, on the one who feels small and on the one placed on a pedestal, can create a dangerous imbalance. What began as a love story can turn into a power struggle fueled by insecurity. But the good news is, this isn't a game with a predetermined outcome. Yes, differences can hurt, but they can also become opportunities for growth for both of you. How? Through awareness, communication, and a great deal of respect. Let's look at how two mature people can balance the scales so that neither is above or below, but both stand side by side walking the same path. Imagine love as a partnered dance. Even if one knows tango and the other waltz, with patience you can find a shared rhythm. The key is honest communication. The first time you feel the weight of the difference on your shoulders, talk about it. Yes, I know it's not easy to admit. Look, I feel bad that you want to go to that expensive restaurant and I can't afford it. Or I feel like sometimes my opinions don't count next to your experience. It takes courage to lay your vulnerability on the table, but believe me, it's the only way to keep the chasm from widening. A partner who truly loves you will hear these fears without judgment. They may not even realize you've been feeling this way. A calm, empathetic conversation can diffuse one bomb after another. Sometimes it's enough for the other person to say, "I don't care that you live in a small studio, I admire you because it's yours and you made it on your own," or "I know I have more money, but that doesn't mean I want to control you. For me, you're my life partner, my equal." Words like these can shatter insecurities and draw hearts closer. Empathy plays an essential role as well. Put yourself in your partner's shoes now and then. Encourage your partner, remind them of their qualities and accomplishments. Remind them that a person's worth isn't measured in money or diplomas, but in character, kindness, and a sense of humor, in everything that made you fall in love with them. If on the other hand you're the one who feels inferior, try to see through your partner's eyes. He or she loves you for who you are. They may admire things in you that you underestimate. Maybe your calm voice soothes him after a chaotic workday, or your practical nature grounds her because she's always lived in theory. Differences can be complementary, not adversaries. Balance matters in deeds, not just words. That means finding practical middle ground solutions. For example, if one earns far more and the other less, you can agree on a shared lifestyle that doesn't stress either of you financially. Maybe you won't always go to the priciest places, but alternate with simple nights in pizza and a movie. What matters is being together and at ease. Or if one has an advanced degree and the other doesn't, learn from each other. One evening, talk about books and ideas, without a teacher-student tone. Another evening, do something hands-on together where the other excels, cooking, DIY projects, any skill. That way, each person gets to shine in their area of strength and mutual respect grows. Don't forget respectful assertiveness. If relatives or acquaintances chime in with remarks about your differences, be a team. Back each other up in front of the world. Nothing strengthens a relationship with disparities more than the feeling that we're in this together, the two of us against prejudice. Show by example that you treat each other with respect and admiration. When others see that you're unbothered by the differences, over time they'll stop highlighting them too. At the end of the day, emotional balance is about giving and receiving, regardless of status. Maybe one offers material stability, while the other offers unconditional emotional support. Maybe one is the strategist, and the other is the heart who brings warmth and humor. In a healthy relationship, both partners contribute something valuable, even if those somethings can't be measured by the same yardstick. Mature love understands that two people can come from different backgrounds and still be equal in human worth. A diploma or a credit card doesn't make you a better partner. Your heart and your actions do. So when love isn't on equal footing, it asks a bit more maturity and openness from us. It challenges us to be honest, patient, and united against any obstacle. But if we can do that, the reward is worth it, a love in which each person feels seen, appreciated, and equally important in the other's eyes. Then the differences lose their power to divide you. They become mere nuances in your unique love story. The flurry of camera flashes almost makes Jennifer dizzy. She grips Michael's hand and walks beside him along the red carpet at the gala. For Michael, it all feels natural. He greets colleagues with ease, smiles for photos, makes small talk. For Jennifer, though, every second is an endurance test. The elegant dress she's wearing, a gift from Michael, of course, fits perfectly, but she feels like Cinderella at the royal ball. What if I step on the hem and fall? What if I say the wrong thing? The thoughts buzz non-stop. Around her, men and women chat about exotic vacations and multi-million-dollar projects, while Jennifer can barely string two words together. Michael introduces her to the group. This is Jennifer, my girlfriend. She feels curious eyes sizing her up from head to toe. A man in a bow tie asks kindly, "What do you do, Jennifer?" She swallows hard. "What should I say, that I work part-time as a librarian?" She smiles shyly. "I'm a librarian. I love books." The man answers politely, but the conversation dies quickly. No one seems interested in literature amid talk of stocks and real estate. After a few such awkward moments, Jennifer retreats to the refreshments table, feeling she needs a break. Her heart is pounding, not from the excitement of the event, but from anxiety. She feels small, invisible, like a drop of water on an ocean of expensive champagne. She pours herself a glass of water and takes a deep breath. "I can get through this evening for Michael," she tells herself. She spots him a little way off, animatedly chatting with a group. He's in his element here, a young partner at a successful firm, accustomed to luxury. For a moment their eyes meet across the crowd, and Michael smiles and gives her an encouraging wave. She musters a faint smile and lowers her gaze. He has no idea how out of place I feel. Toward the end of the night, after endless speeches and toasts, Michael and Jennifer step out of the ballroom into the cool night air. Michael is exuberant. "That was great, wasn't it? I'm glad you came with me, you mean a lot to me, you know that." He takes her hand, but feels Jennifer's fingers cold and stiff. "You okay? You seem quiet," he asks, concerned. Jennifer feels a lump rising in her throat. She wants to say, "Yes, I'm fine," but the words won't come. They stop by the car, and she gently slips her hand out of his. She looks up, eyes glistening. "Michael, can't you see?" she whispers. "See what?" he asks, puzzled, opening the car door but staying outside with her. "That I don't belong in your world," Jennifer bursts out, her voice trembling. "All night I felt inferior. You're a star among stars in there, and me, I'm like a lost firefly." Michael closes the car door and steps closer, taken aback by the intensity of her words. "Inferior? Why would you feel that way? Because some of those people there put on airs." He tries to smile, but sees tears welling in Jennifer's eyes. "Because I'm not like you. Your friends, your colleagues, they live in a world I only dream about. I don't know how to talk about the stock market. I grew up in a village where we barely had books to read. I felt stupid, you know. As if you deserved someone more in your league. The last words barely make it out, accompanied by a deep sigh. Jennifer wipes a stray tear from her cheek with the back of her hand. Michael is speechless for a moment, then runs a hand through his hair, the gesture he makes when he's searching for words. Jennifer, I can't believe you spent the whole evening stewing over thoughts like that, he says softly. Do you know how I saw you in there? I was so proud to have you by my side. All those people, honestly, their approval doesn't even matter to me. You do. She shakes her head, doubtful. But you heard how I froze when they asked me what I do. It felt like everyone expected you to say I was a lawyer like you, or who knows what. And I just a librarian. Her voice breaks on the last words. Michael takes a step and gently holds her by the shoulders. Hey, just a librarian. You're really saying that? You who told me with such passion about your projects with the kids at the library, about how you get them to love reading. Jennifer, you don't realize how your eyes light up when you talk about books and how much you inspire the people around you. The fact that you love books and spread that love is wonderful. Do you think what attracted me to you was your bank account? Not a chance I was drawn to your warm heart and your brilliant mind. Jennifer looks at him in amazement. My brilliant mind? Michael, I only finished a part-time degree in literature. You have 2 masters. Michael lets out a short laugh and shakes his head. Yeah, so what? Those are just pieces of paper. Here's something you probably don't know. At that party, among all those lawyers with their airs, you were the only one who caught the Shakespeare quote in my boss's speech. I saw you smile when he said it. None of the legal scholars there even seemed to notice. You did because you love literature. And when you whispered, Hamlet, Act 2, Scene 2, I almost kissed you on the spot. I was so proud. Jennifer remembers indeed at one point the director had said, there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so, and she recognized Hamlet's words at once. She had whispered the title of the play to Michael, and he'd laughed in delighted surprise. Now she sees him grinning broadly at the memory. Her heart begins to calm. Were you really proud of me? She asks, as if she can hardly believe it. Immensely proud, Michael confirms, pulling her into a hug. Jennifer, you enrich my life in a way no one else could. The fact that you come from a different background isn't a minus, it's a plus. You show me another perspective, you keep me grounded. He steps back a little to see her face. You know, at first I was nervous too. I worried you might not like my world, that you'd find it superficial, and sometimes it is, but you came for my sake and tried to fit in. I appreciate that enormously, and if some snob made you feel out of place, that's on them, not us. Jennifer feels the warmth of his words slowly melting away her insecurity. I was afraid that you'd get bored with me, that one day you'd realize we're just too different, she admits, her voice barely above a whisper. Sometimes I'm afraid you'll get tired of my hectic world and want someone with a simpler life. Michael replies honestly. Really? She asks, surprised. Really, I have my own demons. But here's what I think. Those demons disappear when we talk openly, like this. At last, Jennifer truly smiles, feeling a weight lift off her chest. Thank you for telling me all this, she whispers, and forgive me for letting it overwhelm me. I'm not Cinderella, I don't need a ball or a perfect prince. I want you, the real Michael, who takes my hand when it's hard and listens to me. I should be the one thanking you for being patient with me, he replies. Maybe sometimes I don't even realize what you're going through. I promise to be more attentive. We're a team, right? She nods and hugs him tightly. Yes, a team, she repeats. In his arms, Jennifer feels safe again. In the weeks that follow, something shifts subtly between them. Michael makes a real effort to include Jennifer's interests when they go out with friends. He takes everyone to a play based on a famous novel, where Jennifer shines in the discussion. Jennifer, for her part, invites her boyfriend to a picnic with her family in the countryside, where Michael, in sneakers and a t-shirt, feels oddly at ease far from the city. They both laugh when Michael tries to catch a baby chick in the yard, or when Jennifer tells the stories of the place where she grew up. They are small moments yet rich with authenticity. Each discovers the other's world and learns to appreciate it. Jennifer sees that Michael can be happy under a walnut tree, not just under neon lights, and Michael understands that Jennifer's modesty and simplicity are exactly what he'd been missing in his life. One evening, back in Jennifer's studio, where Michael now feels at home, with the colourful pillows and books crammed onto the shelves, the two sit on the rug eating ice cream from the same tub. "You know what?" Michael says suddenly. "I wouldn't trade this moment for any fancy reception in the world." Jennifer laughs and lightly touches his cheek. "Me neither, who would have thought?" A librarian and a lawyer savouring ice cream on the floor sounds like the start of a joke. Or the start of a beautiful story, Michael adds, smiling. And, curled up on the modest rug, they both know their differences have become assets. She has taught him about vulnerability and simplicity. He has opened doors to new experiences for her, but most importantly, they've learnt together about respect and trust. In the warm light of the lamp, Jennifer no longer feels like a lost firefly, and Michael no longer seems like a prince on a pedestal. They are simply two hearts beating side by side, in harmony, even though they started out in two different worlds. Jennifer and Michael's story perfectly illustrates the dynamics of an unequal love and how it can be balanced. At the beginning, Jennifer experienced firsthand the shame and the inferiority complex. She felt small in Michael's glittering world. Her fear that she was not in his league led her to interpret every gesture through the lens of their differences. On the other hand, Michael, up on the pedestal, didn't initially realize what Jennifer was going through. Only when she communicated openly how she felt did Michael understand and respond with empathy and reassurance, showing her that he genuinely appreciated her for who she was. That honest dialogue between them was the key. We saw how communication transformed an almost ruined evening into a moment of deep closeness. What's more, Michael and Jennifer began building bridges between their worlds. He involved her in his activities, putting her in a light that allowed her to showcase her strengths, the discussion about the play, for example, and she invited him into her simple world, where Michael could let his guard down. These gestures reflect finding common ground, alternating situations so that one goes up into the other's world and then the other comes down into their partner's, so both feel they are giving and receiving. Mutual respect grew between them as each came to know more about the other's life and efforts. The story also shows that many fears were unfounded. Jennifer believed Michael would judge her for her modest origins, while Michael loved her precisely for her authenticity and her education. Michael, in turn, feared Jennifer might see his world as too superficial, so he had an insecurity too. This reflects an important truth. Both partners can carry fears in an unequal relationship, even if of different kinds, and both need reassurance. Love can harmonize differences when there is respect, communication, and openness. Jennifer and Michael eventually built a world of their own, as we've said, in which the value of each person is no longer defined by status or wealth, but by the love and support they offer one another. That is exactly this chapter's lesson. No matter how vast the distances on the map or on the social ladder, they can be crossed when two hearts choose to move toward each other with trust and empathy. Unequal love no longer feels so unequal when the two learn to walk shoulder to shoulder, carrying together, and therefore much more lightly, the burden of difference. True love doesn't care about the labels on clothes or the titles on business cards. At its core, two hearts that love each other will find a common language beyond differences. Yes, an unequal love may require extra effort to communicate more, to be more attentive to the other's sensitivities, to examine your own biases, but it is precisely these efforts that make love stronger. When there is mutual respect and openness, differences become colors in a painting, not cracks in the foundation. One can be sky blue and the other emerald green, together they form a rainbow, not one color smeared over the other. What matters is that both meet each other at the same level, heart to heart. They should never forget why they fell in love and what truly matters beyond appearances. Money can come and go, social status can shift, but a kind soul, integrity of character, and a dependable shoulder to lean on in hard times are priceless, and don't depend on status. Love that harmonizes differences shows us how extraordinary we can be when we choose with the heart rather than the mind's calculations. So, if you find yourself in such an unequal relationship, don't be discouraged. See the differences as an opportunity to learn and grow. Be proud of your own path and appreciate your partner's as well. Keep your heart open and your mind curious. At the end of the day, love can level any playing field as long as both partners care enough to meet each other halfway. Two sincere hearts will always beat to the same rhythm, even if they began with different tunes. Ultimately, what could be more beautiful than two people who, though they come from different worlds, create a world of their own where they feel equal, loved and safe? Love, with a bit of effort and plenty of understanding, truly can tame any difference.